Hey, hey, hey. So I just did a little video, I don't even know exactly, it was just about getting familiar with the new concepts that are being spoken about more and more at this time of space travel, time travel, mind travel, black holes, etc. And I spoke about wheels in our centers, chakras, or the Sephirot of the tree of life, or the Kemetic tree. They're all the same. We have these wheels that are reflective of wheels that are always rebalancing, just as ours are, out there in outer space. It's reflecting the spaces within, the infinite space within, in fact. And so these wheels are reflective of the great wheel of the wheel or cycle of life, the life cycle. And as that wheel spins and readjusts itself, okay, it's always readjusting. It's like an ever shifting, ever changing crystal. We are always realigning our wheels to match it. We are microcosms of the macrocosmic great wheel of life. How do we stay on track with keeping our centers aligned? How do we stay on track with balancing our chakras or balancing our center in reflection of this great center? A lot of people want to know, well, what's the easiest way we can do this? Because in a time where there are so many portals opening and closing everywhere, and by portals, for those of you who haven't been following, I'm talking about concepts, thought concepts, conceptions, divine conceptions, immaculate conceptions. They're popping in and out of existence everywhere, these worlds within and without. And they're essentially just manifestations of realizations of the one mind where we all meet. And so all that space travel, time travel, all that happens inside of us, in our mind. You just got to change the way you look at it. You know, one day you might have thought it was just some realization that sparked a light in your mind or in your third eye, in your mind's eye. But it's also connected to things that are happening that are much bigger than us, macrocosms of the microcosm of us. There is a mind that is a macrocosmic mind in reflection of our individual mind and our minds as one. And so what's the easiest way to stay on track with staying centered? How do we stay centered in a world where there's so much chaos manifesting everywhere and wheels are spinning on fire out of control in this world? It's the way that is the universal way. It's a universal language that is spoken even through frequency. It is the light language that we all speak. And it's the language of virtue. Virtues are balance. Virtues are the law. Virtue is law. Justice is peace. Because true justice is equality for all, which is the goal of our ever rebalancing and spinning of our wheels. That's why we're here, balance. And so following the virtuous path is the easiest, most balanced, most reliable method, most efficient method for staying on the path. And by staying on the path, I mean adjusting your sails, adjusting your scales, lifting the veils and closing others when they need to, opening your eye to the things that help to rebalance those scales, and closing it when there is a portal there, a portal of thought that is not for your highest good as our highest good as one together. We're learning how, through these portals of thought, to close and open the eye of our mind to receive the light of those things that are going to balance our wheels in alignment with the balancing of the greater wheel of life. So essentially these worlds popping in and out of existence are just thoughts. And when we open up our eye to one, we are choosing to receive its wisdom, to go in there and learn the lessons of that thought, of that conception. Adding a new layer of awareness We're learning more how to adjust those sails, those scales. When to receive truth and when to turn the other way. When we listen, we receive the wisdom. When we speak, we offer wisdom. So what thoughts are we listening to? Those are the portals that we're bonding with. Those are the portals that by listening and receiving them, our energy is becoming like them, pulling us into the portal, whether we're aware of it or not. A portal is not what you once thought it was. It's much more subtle. It's like a dream. We're pulled into it, and as we're not even realizing it, we're falling asleep and we're just falling right in. So we're becoming more aware, and that's how we're aligning our centers. How do we stay on the virtuous path? As I mentioned, the virtuous path being the most efficient path to consistently walking the path to the one who is you. And why? Why are the virtues the way? Be a good person. Yeah, but why? The virtues are literally a concise and complete scientific method in reflection of self. When we study ourselves, we find that virtues are the rivers that lead to the ocean of the one goal of compassion. And why compassion? Why is this the goal? Because we are one unit. Scientifically proven, we are all connected. We're in this together. And so it's not just some fantasy of like, oh, we're one, so we have to be this way. It's like, no, we're one, so we have to be this way. And there are a lot of people right now who will say, oh, yeah, sure, we're all one, but... yeah, I know we're connected and all, but I still have to do this thing that's really shitty. No. You have to be the one to tell yourself to take accountability and say, we're all one, so I'm not going to do this anymore. Because we're one, I'm going to do this for all of us, even when everybody else is telling me that, well, we still have to do these things because we're still living on this plane. The only reason we're still living on this plane is because we're not realizing that to get onto another one is just an interdimensional exploration, a shift through a realization in our mind. That's how we materialize a whole new dimension and reality. So no, we don't need to stay on this plane. We can raise our frequencies. We can transcend this plane right here and now in a way that's much easier than we ever knew or thought. And so yes, because we're all one, I'm not going to do this thing anymore. Even if everyone else is doing it, I'm going to be the one to change that. That's the virtuous path. The greatest minds that you've ever heard of, the minds that you look up to, minds of the past, ascended masters, people who are no longer walking this earth. Martin Luther King, brave man. Those brave people are exhibiting a very powerful magic, the magic of true strength, a true archetypal energy that is within us all and present each moment for us to access as a power in our main tool belt as magicians, alchemists. When we're brave, when we can be brave, we're showing that we are applying our will. Okay, we're aligning our will with the will of the divine, first of all. And by being brave, we're proving to self and to all that I'm true. I'm here. I'm in it for you and me as one. And I'm going to do whatever I need to do. The amount of difficulty of the task is irrelevant. It doesn't matter how big or small the job. You're either in or you're out. You're either with us or you're not. All for one and one for all. Bravery is necessary, especially in these times when even people who are aware of our oneness as a scientific fact, are not really feeling it in their hearts. And they need your bravery. Because no matter how smart someone appears, it doesn't matter. You still have to connect to your own heart to know the truth, because that very smart person may have no feeling or conception in their heart. That real space of what space really is. And you might be the one. So you need to hold that awareness for the one. And when they say, yes, I know, I see you're trying to be a good person and all, but you still got to be in this world. Yeah, we're in this world, but we're not of it. And that's the thing that we need to connect for others, to remember this truth, that it's in them too. So yes, we are all one. And the more we prove our trust in this concept through our actions, through our words, through our following the virtuous path, no matter what we come face to face with along the way, the more this world is going to begin to change through you. The wind is really powerful right now. So the virtues are the way. When everything looks confusing, when portals begin to pop up left and right, when people say, oh, follow this, no, follow that, follow me down the rabbit hole. They're all rabbit holes. They're all portals of exploration. And we don't need to sit there and try so hard to make up our minds which ones to believe. Like, you know the way. Shine it from your heart. Shine it from the crystal of your heart, reflecting the light of the original light to show you the way. The light at the end of the tunnel, there is no end. It's only a beginning. That light is your light. So remember where it's coming from and shine it from that direction, from inside of yourself. And let that light not be some light at the end of the tunnel when you die, but understanding that death is only a transformation, and we can transform right here and now and activate that light to show us the way right here, right now. So the virtues, again, are a science of our oneness. They hold the key to open the door to your inner eye where we all connect. So look up the virtues. I'm sure you can think of a few of them, but look them up. Study the different cultures of the world, ancient cultures and religions who have, shared their own perspectives with us, all to be considered. And again, they're all portals, so only spend so much time in consideration, or you might find yourself falling into a dream or a portal of any one of them. No, just take them in, breathe them in, and keep moving. See what the great ones before us have left behind, little clues and pieces, so that we can see that and keep going. Study the virtues, what feels right to your heart. The original light is the all-virtuous light of one. And so any virtuous thought or action we take, we have, we follow. So we can take virtuous action, or we can take virtuous action within our minds, right? And that becomes a portal that leads us into further exploration of self. But any virtue that you sink into will lead you back to you, yourself. All of them rivers that lead to the same ocean of compassion. So explore that, feel that. In every moment when life speaks to you, through a person, a lover, a friend, a mother, brother, father, stranger, anytime life approaches you, if you find yourself in front of a flower and you go to smell it, how can you embody and reflect that all virtuous light from where you came, when you came? When someone talks to you and asks you a question, how can you be a reflection of that virtuous light? By using the virtues. Not leaning into their opposites of the vices, but perhaps using the vices as they arise as an embodiment within you to guide you to their opposite, the light, the virtues. Wow, that wind. Wow. How can we then respond to life rather than react, but respond through these virtues? One of them will always apply. If you're feeling down, if you're feeling low, that's especially a time to consider the virtues. So if you're feeling jealous, okay, because a lot of people We're creatures of comparison. We want to compare. And that's okay. We're judging. We're judging our realities as we perceive them. And that's okay so long as we remain the observer and use those judgments or comparisons to come back to the light or the path or the virtuous path. So if you feel jealousy arise in you, remember that as a vice and then use it to guide you to a virtue. How do you do that? You feel the bad thing, you recognize it as a vice. Okay, I'm feeling jealous right now. And then we say, but everything is one. So if everything is one and we compare it to this truth, it gives us any answer we need anytime. So we compare it to this truth. Everything is one. So how can I be jealous of myself? And that's when those people around you will offer their portals of advice and say, oh, well, everything is one, but it's okay to be jealous. And everything is one, but just be jealous, be real. Just say what you feel. No, that's not real. Jealousy is not real. You shouldn't have to feel that. There's a better feeling you can feel, and I'm going to explain to you how. Instead of accepting that person's idea and therefore bonding with their portal, whatever else is going to be in that portal, we don't know. Instead, we remain in our center and we say, no, that is a vice. And when I remember that everything is one, and it doesn't make sense to be jealous of another person, you're right. Ding, 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 ding. You're right. It's not. You literally can't be jealous. It's an illusion. And you trick yourself into thinking, oh, it's okay to feel jealous. I'm going to let myself feel that. I'm going to sink into that. No, don't sink into that. You're sinking into a dream again. And we want to remain in the dream, but while we're awake, right? We're shifting this dream. We're crystallizing it. We're ready to move out of that old way of thinking, of being, of forming. And so we accept. And by the way, a great book to understand what I'm speaking about is Emmett Fox's The 10 Commandments. He explains the 10 Commandments from a beautiful perspective, a metaphysical perspective, and how they are a science. And so this is an excellent book for what I'm talking about right now. So we literally can't be jealous of ourselves because we're one. And so instead, we shift that vice. We alchemize our energy. We elevate it. We transcend. We rise above into its opposite, the virtue, the light within the dark, because everything is hidden inside of its opposite. And we extract the truth that we are one and I can't be jealous. And so therefore, instead, I'm going to be inspired. Yeah, inspiration. I'm going to be inspired by my own reflection and say, not F you, but thank you, reflection, for showing me what I want to be. For reflecting to me an image that I can now hold in my heart and in my mind's eye, the heart of my mind, of the seed, of the fruit, the manifestation that I wish to attract for myself. In one dimension, it seems I already have. Since you have it, that must mean I have it too. So it makes it more believable and makes it feel good for me to know that I can have that. And then I remember that I can have anything because I'm a creative being as a part of a magical universe. And so therefore, I'm not upset with you. I'm not jealous. I'm so thankful. I'm using gratitude. Now I'm forming gratitude. Now we're really getting into magic. Now our frequency is really elevating in that gratitude, that thankfulness, which is divine. And then we manifest that thing for ourselves super quickly. Whereas if we sunk into the portal of jealousy, the vice, we wouldn't go so far. We wouldn't feel very good. And we certainly wouldn't attract the thing that we're wasting all of our time just being jealous about. Because then we would be so focused on how we don't have that thing. We don't have that thing. So we always won't have that thing. So you see, transforming, using the vice that we're so good at doing, being hateful or angry or jealous or you name it, whatever vice, using that, not looking away from it or shaming ourselves for it or being embarrassed about it, but allowing it to come up so that we can honestly face ourselves, really see the deeper underlying beliefs of those projections of the vices. Why do I really feel this way? And correcting it, adjusting it in the most loving, alchemical, powerful way, using what we know to get to what we want, using the familiar to get to the unfamiliar, the new. So if we feel again, let's examine jealousy a little further here from another perspective now. If we feel jealous of somebody and we want the thing they have, and we say, okay, I'm feeling jealous, I'm tuning in. Instead of reacting, I'm going to tune in. Why do I feel jealous about this thing? Well, I guess I want it. Okay, so again, I'm going to remember what Rebecca said, and she said to look at the situation and instead thank it and as being inspiration for our visualization to then manifest the thing, knowing that through the awareness that we are one, knowing that this person is showing me that I can also have that. But actually, upon my examination of this, knowing that I can have it, in the knowing I can have it now, I realize I don't really want it. I actually don't want it. I don't even want it. and then we end up thanking that person for a whole different reason, or thanking that situation for a whole different reason. Like, wow, thank you, not for showing me that I can have it too and helping me to manifest it, but showing me a part of myself that I don't actually want anymore, and a part that I was just subconsciously programming in myself as a belief that I did want it through a different belief, a different portal that maybe wasn't even yours, maybe a thought that you sunk into a long time ago that you don't any longer identify with, maybe an old relationship or an old teacher, or maybe even some show you watched one time or a dream you had. Again, it's all one reality. So we pick up on these thoughts and form habits around them, and then we don't even know where the hell the habit formed from. And that's okay. And the only way that we can become aware of these subconsciously, deeply hidden untruths is when we examine our own reflection through others as a peripheral vision of our unified mind's eye. In some ways, we can only come to conclusions about ourselves through the observations of others, because we literally couldn't see those things without their reflection. We literally couldn't. There are things that the conscious mind chooses to not see. So the virtuous path, finding anything that's not in reflection of those virtues, and knowing that that's not an emanation in reflection of the original one emanation, knowing that true light, and which is true truth, which is love, is an all virtuous light. So everything is either on one side or the other, in alignment with that virtuous light, or not. A vice. And even that, understanding that that shadow of vice is just a shadow of its opposite, the light, the virtue. So everywhere we look, we can see right through to the virtuous light, because it's within us, inside of us, and we see that which we are. And so we can begin to cut through the reality using our sword of truth, being that page of swords, a messenger of truth, a new beginning. It's either a vice or a virtue. And if it's a vice, we look at it, to it, and through it, straight to the light that's hiding inside. We transform our vice, our embodiment or demonstration of the vices. Jealousy, anger, hate, stealing, hurting. And we ask ourselves, why am I doing it? What's behind that? And to aid in the process and support you, your oneness wants you to remember it in those moments and hold it up to that light of the truth of our oneness and say, is this feeling valid when I consider that everything is one? Well, if I'm hurting somebody, then no, because I'm hurting myself. If I'm stealing from somebody, then no, because I'm only stealing from myself. And if I'm jealous of somebody, no, because I'm only jealous of myself. So how can I readjust my response, not just externally, but also internally? How can I look at or perceive this thing differently when I remember that all is one? Truly, though, not all is one, but all is one, but all is really one. And so when I know this, how can I shift my response as I shift my understanding? realign the way that I think about something, redesigning patterns, programs, thought programs, to train myself to have positive habits, virtuous ones that are in alignment with the truth of my true light, of the all virtuous light. As long as we train our subconscious to perform these virtuous habits, just simply be a good person, study those virtues, and they all come together to make you a good person. From the inside out, subconsciously, you deeply program those good habits or virtues into you, and then you become you become an operation or a demonstration of the original light subconsciously without even trying. You move around without even having to try, doing the right thing, doing good things, alchemizing as you go, not having to sit there with each portal or thought and say, okay, how do I transform? It's not always going to be like that. It's not always hard work. At first, it could be a little difficult. For a while, it can be difficult as you work through old stuff, you know? And then there are those moments where we'll have to pause and realign and make sure that we're still on that path. But it does get easier. It does. We're not always reprogramming and reprogramming and reprogramming and reprogramming. No, there is a way now that we understand we can reprogram the mind, the subconscious mind, in a way that it is always interdimensionally and universally going to be aligned with the truth, because the truth is universal. And so are virtues. The virtuous path reflects the one virtuous light that rules in every dimension. So if we input this program, we will begin to operate in such a way that opens up worlds that we were never able to explore before because we weren't in alignment with that light. And we just have to carry that awareness with us that these virtues are the only thing we need to do. We don't need to study extensive programs or pay thousands of dollars to learn about how to know ourselves. Anyone can understand it. Any age, anyone. I've got a 6 and a 7-year-old, and they both could tell you more than some people ever learn in their entire lives on this earth about the truth, about the oneness that we are. So you don't need to know a thing, but remember, you're a star. The virtues will always lead you to the right thing, the one, the virtuous light. Through you, to you, always back to one. So if you want to know how to stay balanced, keep your chakras balanced, stay on the path through this life and beyond to infinity, then you don't need to know or remember a thing. You don't need to pay anybody any money. All you need to do is just stay on the path. And then ironically, you will pay money to some people sometimes whenever it's relevant. But we don't need to judge who, when, where, why. We just need to take one step at a time. One step at a time, moving along, moving ahead, always remembering virtuous path. That's all I need to remember. Forget the rest. Then, when the paradoxical plays of your reality unfold, like, oh, I'm spending money right now on, a healing of whatever sort, then that's okay too. That's good, because everybody is always just helping us to see ourselves. Everybody is us. We don't have to reject advice just because it is inside of us. And it's also outside as a reflection of our own. So it gets a little funny, a little paradoxical. But as long as you're following the inner light, you'll be guided to those reflections of you that have something to show you that you've been asking for. And then it's worth your money, or it's worth your time, it's worth your energy in general. So if we get out of our head and into our hearts, then we'll always be doing the right thing in any given moment as we remember our universal truth of the virtuous path, always being the way back home to ourselves and to our heart as the goal. The overflowing cup of the heart is always the goal in all dimensions. There's no other reason. The divine romance is playing out in each moment. That's why we're here. It's always to lead ourselves back home. Therefore, the virtuous path, the path of virtue, is the way. Each virtue a different lens to see to and through anything back to self. in any moment when life is asking for our response, when we respond in a virtuous way, whichever one we choose, we're just choosing a different lens, a different portal to get to and through the same one thing. The virtuous light is that light that we're always seeking. The virtuous light is the truth within all things. That's what we really want to see. And if we want to see it, we have to begin to be like it. We see what we are. If we want to feel it, we have to begin to create a vibration that attracts it. We have to resonate with it. We have to become like its frequency to move closer to it. So if we want to move toward this light that is all virtuous, a sea of virtuous light, an ocean of compassion, the truest love, if we want to reach that, we have to become like it. And any virtue that we embody then becomes a river, a pathway to that ocean, that light. Any of them. They all lead to the same one. Because all of their explanations lead to the understanding that we must be this way because we are one. And the virtues, as we embody them, we begin to understand the virtues as different, like angels, different angels, which are also gatekeepers of each of the chakras. When we learn about the chakras, we learn about how they're each associated to a different virtue. And then we start to make connections, rainbows, angels, all as symbols of guidance to get to these rivers so that we can paddle on back to the one ocean of our consciousness. There's my home, and I'm sitting outside in this shaky trailer so that I can get a little bit of silence. Thank you for sitting with me and going into this portal with me, for your trust, your openness, your love. And I promise it is my intention to be on that virtuous path so that I can lead myself back home, so that I can paddle down this river to that ocean, so that we can go there together. And I promise that anytime I make these videos, it's a representation of that intention. It's an offering of love. It's an offering of taking my hand on a journey, a fun journey, in our boat of awareness, our relationship, to set sail on the rivers of virtue, to get home together to the ocean of emotion, of the highest love, where we share one heart, in time and out of time, in space, the space where we all are one. I'll see you soon.